hasn't Kim Jong Un responded to your request to have a conversation?
How do you know he hasn't responded?
Has he?
Yeah, he has.
Why is this U.S. ally so keen on helping Trump reach this dictator, as Seoul pushes for a diplomatic breakthrough? Panicked South Korea pushes Trump to revive talks with Kim, hoping dialogue can prevent tensions from spiraling further? Will Trump's Kim Jong Un gamble pay off, as Seoul offers to bridge the widening gap between Washington and Pyongyang? Kim Jong Un unbothered? Missiles fly thick as Trump's team pushes for a meeting, but Pyongyang shows little sign of backing down. North Korean leader's powerful sister mocks Trump's diplomacy bid, sending a blunt message to Washington and Seoul. Seoul on the back foot after the U.S. scales back military drills, while Kim Jong Un appears increasingly confident. Seoul and Washington under pressure. Can they bring Kim Jong Un back to talks before tensions rise even further? South Korea has pledged to help Donald Trump revive diplomatic talks with North Korea, offering Seoul support for a fresh dialogue push. Seoul made the offer days after Kim Jong Un rejected Trump's latest bid to revive talks, leaving Washington's outreach in doubt. South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Hyun reportedly spoke with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio about efforts to restart engagement with Pyongyang. Seoul said both sides agreed to closely coordinate their efforts to restore dialogue with North Korea and prevent tensions from escalating. South Korea also vowed to ensure Trump's latest messages reach Pyongyang and create an opening for renewed talks with Kim Jong Un. The two sides also discussed North Korea's nuclear issue and broader security concerns across the Korean Peninsula. Trump's recent moves have already created new friction between the two allies, adding pressure to an increasingly delicate relationship. Trump has cut back joint U.S.-South Korea military drills while simultaneously praising Kim Jong Un, raising questions in Seoul. South Korea also faces pressure from Washington over trade, investment and security issues, complicating the alliance's wider strategic equation. South Korea has promised to help restore free passage through the Strait of Hormuz, adding another regional responsibility for Seoul. President Trump has ordered the Pentagon to substantially reduce U.S.-South Korea military exercises, citing their cost and tensions with North Korea. Trump said the exercises were too costly and sent what he called an inappropriate and hostile signal to North Korea. He cited his very good relationship with North Korean leader Kim Jong Un as a reason for scaling back the joint military drills. Trump said he recently asked Seoul to join the U.S. effort to denuclearize Iran, but South Korea refused the request. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "Based on my very good relationship with Kim Jong Un, of North Korea, I am not happy with the fact that the United States has, long ago, agreed to participate in joint military exercises with South Korea. These exercises are not only costly, with much of these costs paid for by the United States of America, as usual, but send a signal that is totally inappropriate and hostile to a country that, as long as Donald J. Trump has been president, has been unthreatening and respectful. Therefore, and based on the fact that it is too late to cancel, I have instructed Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to substantially reduce the joint military exercises." While somewhat unrelated, I recently asked the President of South Korea if they would like to join us in the denuclearization of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And they said, "No thanks." Unquote. Trump said reducing the drills would help avoid sending what he described as a hostile signal to North Korea while lowering the cost of the exercises. The U.S. president defended his decision to cut down on joint military drills with South Korea, despite alliance concerns. Trump claimed the expense, along with South Korea's refusal to join the war against Iran, contributed to the decision. On August 18, South Korea claimed a military contribution to the U.S. war against Iran remains on the cards, adding another twist.
Our government has actively participated from the outset in international discussions aimed at securing a ceasefire involving Iran and restoring freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Taking into account various factors, including the readiness posture on the Korean Peninsula and procedures required under domestic law, we are in close consultations with the United States regarding possible substantive and military contributions. Our government hopes that President Trump's message will lead to meaningful dialogue between the United States and North Korea. To that end, we will continue the necessary diplomatic efforts in close coordination with the United States. Regarding the recent ritual offering and visits to Yasukuni Shrine, we have made our position clear that we deeply deplore the fact that responsible Japanese leaders have once again made ritual offerings to or visited Yasukuni Shrine, which glorifies Japan's past war of aggression and enshrines war criminals.
North Korea fired a barrage of short-range missiles this week despite Trump's renewed bid for talks, sending another warning to Washington. The U.S. president had claimed plans were underway to meet with North Korea's Kim Jong Un, raising hopes of renewed leader-level diplomacy. Trump claimed secret negotiations were already in the works with the North Korean leader, although Pyongyang has disputed those claims.
Why hasn't Kim Jong Un responded to your request to have a conversation?
How do you know he hasn't responded?
Has he?
Yeah, he has.
Did you speak to
Where
him?
are you in conversation?
That's very positive. Well, just so you understand with South Korea, look, South Korea has been protected by us for many, many years. And during my first term, they agreed to pay close to $3 billion a year for protection because we don't, they essentially weren't paying. And I asked them to do that at my request. I said, not right. They weren't happy about it, but they agreed. I asked for $10 billion. And they were very unhappy. But we agreed for a short term that it would be $3 billion, and next year it would go up, and the next year it would go up, so they start paying for their protection. When the election was rigged and I ended up watching for 4 years and then coming back, I watched Biden rescind that $3 billion a year for whatever reason. When I called recently the president of South Korea, who I like, I think he's very nice actually, but I called him, I said, would you like to give us a little hand? We don't need help with Iran, but if you'd like, give us a hand with Iran. He said, no thanks. And I said, wait a minute, we have 39,000 soldiers over there guarding you from Kim Jong Un, your next door neighbor, and you're not going to help us on a very easy military operation in Iran? That's strange. No, we'd rather not get involved. I say, well, why are we involved in helping you? So, and I want to help them, but when you ask somebody, would you like to give us a hand, and they say no thanks, and then we're guarding them from a country and paying ourselves billions of dollars, it's costing us billions and billions of dollars to protect not only them, but other countries.
However, Kim Jong Un's powerful sister reportedly denied that any talks were underway with the Trump team, contradicting Washington's claims. Kim Yo-jong reportedly said she knew absolutely nothing about Trump's alleged plan for talks, casting fresh doubt on the diplomatic outreach. Pyongyang state media further claimed Kim Yo-jong accused the U.S. of maintaining a hostile policy towards the DPRK, signaling little appetite for dialogue.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HD app. Download now